Hello everyone, Jonathan Schlack, EAS&Weather here, with a small slight risk area that covers parts of South Central Texas. That is where we have a slight risk for severe weather today in portions of South Central Texas. And zooming out, we have 4 areas where we have a marginal risk for severe weather today. There's one that covers much of Central Texas, that is where we have a marginal risk for severe weather. And we have another marginal risk area that covers South Central Colorado and northeastern New Mexico for another marginal risk for severe weather. Thirdly, we have a marginal risk that covers southeastern Minnesota, western Wisconsin, and portions of north central and northeastern Iowa for another marginal risk for severe weather. And lastly, we have another marginal risk area, a small marginal risk area that covers far southeastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina. So, zooming out, going over to the tornado threat, there's a less than 2% chance of tornadoes in all areas. So, going over to the wind aspect, there is a 15% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or higher in portions of South Central Texas. So, zooming out, we have 4 areas where we have a 5% chance of 58 mile per hour wind gusts or higher from thunderstorms. There's one that surrounds the 15%, and the 5% surrounds that 15%. So, the 5% chance of 58 mile per hour wind gusts or higher encompasses much of Central Texas, and there's a 5% chance of 58 mile per hour wind gusts or higher in portions of South Central Colorado and northeastern New Mexico for 1 to 5% risk areas. Going up here, we have a 5% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or higher in southeastern Minnesota, western Wisconsin, and north central and northeastern Iowa. And we have another 5% risk area of 58 mile per hour wind gusts or higher in extreme southeastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina. So, going over to the hail threat, there are also 4 areas where we have a 5% chance of hail of 1 inch in diameter or larger, and one of them encompasses Central Texas, and we have a second area of a 5% chance of large hail, 1 inch in diameter hail or larger, in South Central Colorado and northeastern New Mexico. And we have another 5% risk area for hail of 1 inch in diameter or larger in southeastern Minnesota, western Wisconsin, and north central and northeastern Iowa. So, and going over here, we have a small area of a 5% risk of hail of 1 inch in diameter or larger in extreme southeastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina. So, going over to the summary, isolated to widely scattered severe thunderstorms are possible across portions of Texas centered on the Edward Plateau. Severe gusts will be the primary hazard. So, and again, the other marginal risk areas, just because it's a marginal risk doesn't mean you can't see severe weather. You can still get some severe storms in the marginal, and even a general thunderstorm for that matter. That has happened before. But the main focus for severe storms, will be in South Central Texas. So, going over to the Day 2 outlook, we have a slight risk for severe weather that encompasses most of Minnesota, extreme southeastern corner of North Dakota, eastern South Dakota, extreme northeastern Nebraska, northern Iowa, and western and northwestern Wisconsin for the slight risk for severe storms. And there's a marginal that surrounds that. There's a marginal for eastern North Dakota, far eastern North Dakota, northwestern Minnesota, parts of eastern South Dakota, eastern Nebraska, portions of Iowa, portions of central Wisconsin, and the northwestern part of the peninsula of Michigan. So, right around here. So, going over to the Like for tomorrow, and going over to the tornado threat, there is a 5% chance of an isolated tornado in much of Minnesota, extreme southeastern South Dakota, northern Iowa, and west central Wisconsin for that 5% tornado risk. And there's a 2% that surrounds that in the extreme southeastern corner of North Dakota, northwestern and northeastern Minnesota, portions of western Wisconsin, portions of Iowa, eastern South Dakota, and northeastern Nebraska for that 2% tornado risk. Going over to the wind, we have a 15% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or higher tomorrow in much of Minnesota, far eastern South Dakota, extreme northeastern Nebraska, northern Iowa, and west central Wisconsin, with a 5% chance of 58 mile per hour wind gusts or higher in portions of northwest Minnesota, southeastern North Dakota, eastern South Dakota, eastern Nebraska, portions of central Iowa, and much of Wisconsin, as well as the far northwestern peninsula of Michigan, for that 5% chance of wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or higher. And going over to the hail, much of Minnesota, western Wisconsin, northern Iowa, extreme northeastern corner of Nebraska, far eastern South Dakota, and the extreme southeastern corner of North Dakota has a 15% chance of hail of 1 inch in diameter or larger. If you look at the black dashed area, there is a 10% chance of hail of 2 inches in diameter or larger, and there is a 5% chance of hail of 1 inch in diameter or larger in northwestern Minnesota, far eastern North Dakota, portions of eastern South Dakota, eastern Nebraska, portions of Iowa, central Wisconsin, and the northwestern peninsula of Michigan for that 5% hail risk for tomorrow. 5% chance of 1 inch in diameter hail or larger. So, going over to the summary, scattered severe thunderstorms capable of very large hail, damaging wind gusts, and a few tornadoes will be possible across parts of the upper Midwest on Wednesday. The probable time frame for the most intense storms should be centered on late afternoon to early evening. So, I'll try to capture alerts, but, stay safe in the affected areas both today and tomorrow. I'll try to capture alerts today and tomorrow, but we'll see. So, anyway, remain vigilant in the affected areas both today and tomorrow, and I will have another update tomorrow. Take care.